Welcome back to the Modcast. My name's Gabe Anderson,
I'm Jake Overall.
and we're here to talk about modifying some stuff.
Specifically, some of your stuff.
Yeah, we're going to talk today about what it kind of takes to find a good project car, get you started, depending on your level of experience in working on cars, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. That's fair.
Yeah. So,
What were you looking for in your project car?
I had a budget of, at the time, I think we were looking to spend $6,500.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really know when I first started looking what I wanted for a car. It kind of had been refined, I think, a little bit through some influence of my brothers and just some nostalgia stuff, because we used to play the Dirt 3 when it came out, and there was a bunch of Subarus. I always used the Subaru, so
Makes sense.
turned into a WRX. Why not?
I think I remember at one point you told me, I'm looking for something all-wheel drive, turbo, and manual. And you're like, and Subaru is definitely on the menu. And I was
And
like,
I know
all
you
right.
were, and I knew you were tickled by that.
I was like, oh boy, here we go. But in all fairness, I think you may have found a gem.
I did. I absolutely found a gem. I ended up purchasing this car for $5,000 from we are technically the fourth owner of this car. But there was a couple of massive driving factors behind this car in particular, which I think maybe we'll get to in a second.
Sure.
Main reasoning is because when I went to go buy my project car, this was the 8th car I looked at.
Wow. Okay, yeah.
All 7 previous were all WRXs within 1 or 2 years of this one as well.
Okay, so there were definitely things about those ones that you were not hoping to get.
Yeah, and this one, my car personally, it just kind of happened to be everything that I was looking for. Service records, fully loaded, minimal modifications. My big thing when I was looking at buying a Subaru is I wanted to buy a car with 0 modifications done to it.
Makes
Ideally,
sense.
I wanted a bone stock turbo car, which after looking and realizing that that's a unicorn, and when you find those, they're way too much money. My next best bet was to find one that was minimally modified.
Sure, that's reasonable.
Yeah. So a lot of the problem is the first couple cars I looked at, minimal modifications, but they were rusty.
Okay, yeah.
I am a mechanic by trade. I can't do body work at all to save my life.
I feel the exact same way.
So rust was a big determining factor for me. I don't have a way of dealing with rust in a cheap isn't necessarily the right way to put it, in a budget-friendly manner.
Yeah, right. Cost effective at the least.
Yeah. So I didn't want to buy rust was a thing that I cannot deal with in a cost-effective manner. So it's not something I wanted to deal with in general.
Right.
Which I know. Everybody doesn't want a rusty car. I know it's very easy to say that. But I'm open to doing some stuff like that. Now, I will say my car is not rust-free.
Of course not. I mean, it's a northern car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun fact, it's actually from Wisconsin.
Okay, yeah, so it's right in there, Rust Belt for sure.
Rust Belt its whole life. But it's a very nice Rust Belt car.
Yeah.
So the first couple cars I looked at were rusty. The next couple cars, you could just tell they had been run through the ringer.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely destroyed. And I work hard for my money. I really do. Mm-hmm. I wasn't willing to spend any money on a car that wasn't going to be somewhat dependable.
You'd like to, ideally buy a car, put the key in it, start it, drive it, and have everything be okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And now that's perfect world scenario. That was not the case with my car, actually.
Okay.
I did actually have to fix some stuff. Some stuff I knew purchasing it. Some stuff, unfortunately, which we'll show in a minute, I had to do pretty much right out of the gate after I started driving it, which wasn't fun. But
No, never is. You learn a lot about your car, though.
You do. You do learn a lot about this car. And I mean, I put ungodly miles on it now. So we have a bunch of pictures. The first picture here is the day I actually purchased it. This was across the street from the guy's house.
Oh, wow. Okay,
Drove it out of his driveway and then up into the back of the trailer, which was pretty cool.
At least it moved under its own power, and good on you for bringing a trailer, because, if you go to pick up a car, especially if all you've done is take it around the block or something like that, maybe not even that.
It's not really worth it.
No.
At least not at that point in time. I want to go do a lot of people refer to it as like a roadkill, right?
Yeah,
I do
definitely.
want to do that someday. Not with a car I was looking at starting to daily.
Yeah, definitely
Especially
not.
being a newer, my car is a 2009. I think we've talked about before, but just for anybody who doesn't know, 2009 Subaru Impreza WRX Premium.
So that's like probably I don't know a lot about these cars, but like the highest trim level other than getting like an STI
Yeah.
for that
Yeah.
car? Okay.
So basically, the premium means I have a sunroof, I have heated cloth seats. I believe you could also get them with leather, but I personally was looking for the cloth ones.
Gotcha. I feel the same way, by the way. I'm not a big leather seat person.
No, I mean, I do like them in some situations, but
I think we have a picture of your seats somewhere in here. I'll pull them up for you.
yeah. So there were some things, like I said, done to the car when I first purchased it. Or actually, one of the main reasons why I settled on this car is not only besides the fact is it was absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it was clean everywhere.
Yeah, it looks super clean.
It was. I don't know if it is anymore, but it sure was.
But it definitely can be again. I don't think it's far gone whatsoever.
No, it's not. I actually, fun fact, just got it back out from its little winter hibernation yesterday.
That's awesome. I'm excited to hear it.
Battery was stone cold dead on it, so I had to charge it. But besides that,
so it goes. I mean, it gets so freaking cold here that especially if you're not driving it every day, like the batteries tend to die relatively quickly.
Yeah, and my battery's already, I think it's like 3 years old or something. Like it's right there. It's ready to go.
But them seats though.
The seats. Oh man, the seats. And like I said, the fronts are heated, which is so nice.
I mean, tell me that's not. I've been in your car, obviously. I know it's comfortable, but
yeah,
just looking at it, tell me that doesn't scream comfort at the very least. But it's also like a sporty seat. Like
it is. It's actually
still hugs you when you go quickly into a corner.
My a friend and I passionately refer to these as our Fat Man Recaros.
Oh hell yeah!
So it's
great.
It's still a grippy seat. It's something. It doesn't like hug you bolster wise,
right?
But you're not gonna get really thrown around. For a stock seat, obviously.
Sure.
You're not gonna get thrown around too crazy bad in these things.
Yeah.
But so I bought this car. It had 142,000 miles on it, which I know a lot of super people are going, oh my goodness, things right, ticking time bomb, right?
Yeah.
Joke's on you, blew up before I got it.
You got it at the best time.
I did. So my car had the whole long block replaced on it at, I believe, 126,000 miles.
Okay.
The reason I know this is because when I got this car, I got every single piece of documented paperwork on every single on-time service and everything that's ever been done to it since the day it was purchased.
That's awesome.
It was, I mean, I didn't think I could afford to find a car with something like that. And
right.
I think the guy that was selling it was just ready to finally have it be gone. He said he had somebody come before me that wanted to buy it that made him do a compression test on it.
Wow.
Which was another big thing. I knew it had good compression.
That's awesome. Yeah, you can't beat that, especially with an engine platform that may be questionable, whether it's a design element or if it's just literally the way that car is often treated, which I think has a lot to do with why these fail. I mean, I see them at Redline all the time.
Everywhere. I wouldn't say I baby mine, but I would say it's more of a spirited drive than...
Yeah, and it is a turbo car. Like, you're going to want to send it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, this car, when I bought it, had a Perrin top-mount intercooler. Mm-hmm. It had a NVIDIA catted downpipe and an NVIDIA Q300 dual axle back, which in this picture that's on the screen, you can see the dual tip sticking out. Mm-hmm. I'm not a huge dual exhaust fan, to be completely honest.
Okay.
Which, luckily for me, this exhaust decided to quit on life right after I purchased this car. I came home one day and I pulled in the driveway and I was like, oh man, why does my car have a 40-foot long tail sticking out of the driver's side tailpipe? It's because the internal baffling shield, or that, like, the resonator pipe, had rusted out of the back of the exhaust or blown out, and it was just spitting all the packing out while I was going down the road.
Oops.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah. I mean, what are you going to do?
Did it get louder, though, over time? Like,
I had a different exhaust on it within like 3 days of that happening, to be honest.
So probably not enough to make a significant change in the tone, but
so I bought the most expensive knockoff single exit that I could buy off of Facebook for $300. The most expensive $300 one.
I think spare parts builds are underrated as hell.
They are.
I totally support it as long as you know what you're doing.
And that's the thing. This is part of what we want to talk about with going and getting a car. The first thing is getting a car with a good platform. Or platform isn't the right word to use it, because I want people to modify any and everything.
Sure. But for your specific case,
in my specific case, it was finding a good car that was a good platform, and then finding the best version of it that I could find.
Right.
Being the car with all the service records, the engine's already been replaced, and it was baby.
Yeah.
I mean, this car had absolutely been babied. The original owner supposedly was like a 60-year-old woman.
That's perfect.
All of the modifications were done on my car at 60,000 miles.
Okay.
Blew up at about 120. Sounds
Yep.
about right. For at least in my generation Supers.
So if you can get 120 out of it, that's pretty good, though.
Yeah.
Like, that's 240 on the car. That says something for it, you know?
There's about 50,000 on the engine right now. I think my car's got like 172 on the chassis now.
Okay.
So, so it's finding a good car.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next thing is finding a car that, you know, in my case, there's so many WRXs on the road, and my car being an '09, which is referred to as the narrow body, or the stink eye narrow body.
Right.
It fits a lot of parts between 2008 all the way up to 2014.
Okay.
So another thing is finding a car that shares parts.
Yeah, that's a huge deal because, like, I have a limited run on stuff, but there are some things that transfer over from, like, the RAV4, the Camry, even some Corollas and stuff. Like,
Hopefully some Matrix parts.
Yes, definitely some Matrix parts.
Some all-wheel drive stuff, hopefully.
Yes,
We'll see.
that's in the works, folks. There will be content on the all-wheel drive conversion that my car is going to get. But yeah, it, like, having the availability all over the place also allows you to shop for more OEM stuff, because an older car may share parts with a newer car, and they may say they don't make the part for that older car anymore, but they do, because it's made by somebody for the new version. Like, there's stuff that's still in phase that you can get that will work with your car.
That even though it might be an updated part number and maybe they say it doesn't fit your car, it doesn't mean it doesn't.
Right.
Sometimes you just got to check.
And, like, there, just a little background story, like, there's some people that I know that had one of those older Escalades.
Yeah.
Like a early 2000s Escalade, maybe 04, 05.
Like okay. Yeah, like the GMT 800s,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. And I
People
think,
refer to them as like cat eyes.
yeah.
Yep.
Cadillac was going to sell them, I think it was just one of the idler arms for the steering system. I think they needed two. And they were going to charge them, it was going to be like $300 or $400 in parts. And then they went to a GM dealer and bought the exact same part for like literally a quarter of the cost. And it was just because it came in a Cadillac package. So it's like, but the steering system's identical. There's no difference between the two.
It's just different skins and different interior options, really.
Right. So, you know, I'm sure there's got to be parts that cross over from your car to the STI, right?
There's some parts, a lot of it. So when people do like an STI swap, nothing drivetrain, really.
Okay.
There's
Well,
a different bolt pattern, different axles, different front end, rear end, transmission, and engine, believe it or not.
It's kind of interesting that they went that way.
Now, I will say the engine itself shares. It does. There are some parts that share. So a Subaru in my generation is the engine code is an EJ257.
Okay.
If it's an STI, that's a forged internal engine.
Okay, that makes
My
sense.
car is an EJ255, which means it is a cast or non-forged internal engine.
I see.
Which isn't great, but
Yeah, right.
it's all right.
It seems to work.
There's also some stuff like the WRX only gets a phase on the intake cam. The
Okay.
STIs get it on intake and exhaust.
Makes sense.
So little performance bumps.
Yep.
But back on my car, the couple modifications done. Oh, and it had a Pro Tune. Was the last modification.
Right.
So
Yep.
intake, exhaust, or it also had an intake, intercooler, exhaust, being the cat pipe and the cat back.
Yeah, pretty basic bolt-on stuff.
Yeah. I've done a lot of stuff to this car since then. I wanted to make sure that it was a sound car first. I do want to make some power with this car. The Pro Tune paperwork that I have from this car from, I think it was 2011 when it was dynoed, so I'm sure it doesn't actually make this power anymore, was like 256 horsepower, like 300 foot-pounds torque.
Okay.
Nothing crazy.
But
it's a fun car to drive. I'm not saying it isn't.
Yeah, definitely a fun car to drive.
But it wasn't, you could tell even in the tuning of the car that it wasn't really meant to be beat on. It was meant to be driven for fun.
Right.
I've done all of the, I don't want to call them Subi Saver mods because that's like a body panel company.
Right.
But I've done all of the preventative mods that I can to this car, knowing that they have a tendency to blow up.
Right.
So the first mod I did do was the exhaust.
Yep.
It's now been, I've lowered it on lowering springs.
Okay.
And it's getting coilovers pretty soon.
Nice.
Preventative wise, it has AN lines to the AVCS solenoid, which is the intake cam phaser.
Yep.
And the same tap also goes to the turbo feed line. So those are both AN. You helped me the day we put a Killer Bee oil pickup tube in it because they're known for failing.
Significantly better than the OEM one, I can say for sure.
The OEM one is absolutely terrible.
It is quite scary. And I could see how if you had, maybe some increased oil temps and you had that pickup tube, that maybe some heat cycling could cause it to become brittle and then fail.
And I tell you what, there's one thing we learned about my car is it likes oil temp.
Yes, it does. So if other Subarus experience the same thing, I can see why they would fail as often as they do, especially just cruising down the highway, because all of a sudden your oil temp is 240 degrees and it's happened that way for a while. But if you don't know any better, you're not going to change your oil. You're just going to keep driving it. And eventually that thing's just going to fail.
I mean, and that's the key too, is I run really expensive oil in that car. It hurts every time I do the oil change.
But you got to do it.
I know a lot of people really like doing liquid moly in their Subarus. Maybe it was liquid moly. I don't know. I don't run it. I run AMSOIL. I like AMSOIL. I've run it in all my stuff. 2 strokes, 4 strokes, doesn't matter. So I'm an AMSOIL guy. Every fluid in that car, being trans, engine, and rear end, are all AMSOIL. So
and it's holding together great. I like AMSOIL stuff. I like Mobil 1 stuff for non-turbocharged applications usually.
Actually, the Mazda runs Mobil 1.
They do.
My wife and I's daily driver is a Mazda CX-5, and that is our Mobil 1 car.
Perfect.
Yep.
Yeah, our trucks, actually, we have 2 Tacomas. Those are Mobil 1 as well.
There you go.
So, the cool dailies, but here's a little...
Is
this on its lowering springs at this point?
Yes, that does look like it's on the springs.
Perfect.
Probably springs and spacers. I got a deal on those. Here's some more used part build.
Used parts.
I got these. These are Eibach Pro lowering springs on brand spanking new struts. I mean, all right, not brand spanking used. They had
brand used.
I mean, they maybe 1,000 miles on them. I mean, they were still had the stickers on them, not a speck of rust. The guy had them on his car. He took them out to put coilovers on it.
Sure.
Car got totaled and bent the front suspension.
Wow.
So, luckily for me, I mean, I'm sorry his car got destroyed. It was awful. I'd never want that to happen to anybody.
Me either. I don't want to benefit from somebody else's.
But parts of his car are still living on.
Yeah.
In my car, even though eventually they're coming out pretty soon. So.
Well, maybe they'll live on in somebody else's car. Who knows?
Yeah. With part of what we were talking about before, though, another thing, too, which just came to mind, that really you should look for when you're looking into a car is do a little bit of research. If you're interested in a certain type of car, so when I determined that I wanted a WRX, I first reached out to my friend group. Did anybody I know have any of these? It just so happens a very good friend of mine, his name's Logan. He lives out in Ohio. I actually met him when I was at UNOH. Happens to have this beautiful car, which, just for fun comparisons, is also a 2009 WRX.
Yep.
Now, his is a complete stripper base model, and mine is the complete fully loaded one. Isn't that kind of funny?
Yeah. So, that being said, though, he's pretty big into modifying his cars, isn't he?
Yes. So, we actually just, in one of our little Snapchat group chats here the other day, got a picture of him. He finally just got his car running on Haltech Elite Standalone. It'll now idle by itself, which is
that's a
fantastic.
Step in the right direction. I can tell you that for sure.
But that's big turbo, big fuel system, forged internal, ARP studs everywhere. It's a front mount car. I mean,
gets down.
It's the fastest I've ever been in a car was in the passenger seat of that thing, and we got airborne right at the end of our pull, and it was terrifying.
Oh no!
But it's a Subaru, so handled it.
Handled it because it's a rally car.
So in this picture here, this is kind of fun for me. I was able to convince him to drive his car out to New England here for my wedding 2 years ago, basically. And at this point in time, his car, actually, the coilovers going in my car out of that car. He was the one that bought them new. So in this picture, the coilovers on the blue car are going onto the black car because the blue car is now on a full air system.
Yes, it is. Is it Bag Riders?
Was it
AirTech?
I think it might be Air.
We'll look into that.
Yeah, I'll let you know for sure. It might be Ride Tech. He might have done it through there, but I will definitely confirm on that.
Way, it's on air now, which is sick.
It's just such a fun car, and coincidentally, I didn't mean to buy a car the same year as his. It
Right.
just kind of happened. I actually thought his car was an '08 when I went to go look at mine, because I was going out of my way not to purchase a car the same year as his, and then I happened to buy the exact same year as his. So
Sometimes it just happens that way.
yeah,
though.
but there's nothing wrong with that. So the big thing is going in and seeing if you know anybody and see what they might happen to know. Ask your friends. Ask them what they're into car-wise. You know, if there's a coworker at work's got something cool, go ask them. See if they have any input on cars that might be cool.
Yeah,
Just kind of reach out into the community. Or, I mean, the interweb's a great tool.
it is.
Internet.
The interwebs.
The interwebs.
There are some people on there who are definitely buffoons, though, so read through everything. It's worth it. If you do some of the bad things that these people advise you to do, your car will have problems.
Yeah, it's always good to, if you don't have personal mechanical knowledge of cars, especially the brands you're looking for,
Right.
it's always nice to, if you can maybe meet somebody that knows more about them, talk to them about some stuff first, but don't always just go to the first forum and do what the first response says.
Yeah, definitely not. Read through the whole thing, see who's a senior member, see who has,
See if they've done it to their car.
Right.
You know, anybody can say in the world, oh yeah, that'll be fine, go do it to your car, but if they haven't done it to theirs, is it worth it?
No, definitely not, because they're all just operating on theory. Until you've actually gotten in there and done it, you can't say anything. Like, I've seen multiple, like, I just put a new auto tensioner in my car. Like, we can't always just modify. Sometimes we have to fix stuff.
Sometimes you just have to.
A lot of belt squeal issues with my supercharger, and my auto tensioner, I believe, was the original one to the car, because it
No
was
kidding.
OEM, and I couldn't find anything in history about it being changed at a dealer. So either an aftermarket shop put an OEM part in, or it's never been done.
I'm going to lean it's never been done probably at that point in time.
Yep, especially because of how difficult it is to get it out of there.
Yeah.
It is actually legitimately probably takes less time to take the motor out to do it, because when you back the bolt out, it literally just hits the side of the car.
Just remove the car.
Yeah,
Simple
remove
as
the
that.
car.
If you got to work on the car, just remove the car.
Yeah. Actually, I adapted a piece of Subaru tech to my car to fix its belt slippage. The auto tensioner wasn't the only thing I used.
Interesting.
So IAG is his block IAG?
No, his is a factory block. He would like when I
Factory block. Okay. So IAG makes some gnarly EJ and FA long blocks. Hey, look at that.
Would you look at that? Didn't
Big
even mean for
numbers.
that to happen.
Crazy. But mine is engine. I'm gonna have to look for it and put it up after. But it is basically an idler that goes in this timing setup here for the timing belt. And when you get these things decked, as I'm sure you know,
Yep.
you need to add tension to the belt.
Because
So-
the belt effectively becomes longer.
Right. So you want to keep your timing correct.
Yep.
Well, I'm not worried about timing, but I am worried about tension. So I bought a couple of their eccentric idler wheels, and
Are you telling me that your car has been infected by the Subarus?
there's quite literally a boxer under the hood of my car because it's part of their logo.
All right.
So the FRS isn't the only Scion with a boxer under the hood. Mine's just
Yeah.
not actually a boxer.
Yeah, you just get boxer parts.
I get boxer parts,
But-
and I have to say, works phenomenally.
I get to go for a ride and feel some boosted TC after this, to be honest, and I am very excited.
For the first time,
Yes, I've ridden in this car, and let me tell you what, it's loud.
I got it quieter now, but it's also boosted.
So, real loud again?
It's when it gets into boost, let's say the note changes. We'll leave it at that. For now.
I can appreciate that. I'm excited. I'm really excited.
But yeah, IAG, I mean, they make some sweet stuff for these cars, and
Yeah,
I was excited to use their product. I was like, hey, you know what? Nobody else has something like this, and
But they do. They're innovators in the game, and it's awesome.
I'd actually like to talk to them about doing like a Scion specific supercharger tension adder.
They might.
Because the diameter is a little different, and so is the width of the pulley.
Okay.
But other than
Joe,
that, like, it's pretty close to what you would need exactly. So with a few modifications to their part, you could, in theory, make a perfect part for what I used mine for. So
Okay.
that would be really neat to explore with them. But either way,
It's the spirit of the Modcast. It's too easy to leave stuff stock. Sometimes you have to, stretch your brain a little bit, see if you can figure out some problems. In your case, belt slippage on your car with
Yeah.
the supercharger.
I couldn't even get
Make the
boost
belt
out of
tighter.
it. Exactly. Like, I couldn't get boost. And I was like, okay, I have a supercharged car that doesn't go into boost. This is a problem.
It's like, there's something missing here. It's like boost loading,
Right.
and you just never get it.
Well, do you
What's the
remember
point?
the Nate C30? Like, did you ever ride in it before it was, like, bolt-on and
Yep.
tune? You remember how that boost would just fall off at, like, 5,000,
It made-
4,500,
it made no
whatever.
sense.
Like, it was a very short window of boost, and it just died.
It was like nothing fast, nothing.
So it wasn't
like,
even
alright.
it wasn't even like an NA car. It was like it had a torque spike, and then it was just worse than it was before.
It's like a two-stroke with the wrong pipe. You get past the power band, it's back, and it just bog again.
Yeah, exactly, and it wasn't great. That's how it was driving that car before I fixed the belt, but
And now it's all good.
it's quite a lot different now.
I'm very excited. I really am.
So I mentioned earlier that Subaru is a rally car.
Subaru's... All right.
I want to refute that.
You want to refute that?
I want to refute that statement. Not entirely.
Okay. I was going to say, you just made a lot of people mad.
but let's say it's not the rally car. And my definition of the rally car is probably going to surprise you.
Okay. I'm sure it probably will.
So I found this list.
Oh, boy.
Oh, let's go back all the way to the top. Little preview. But you're not going to see this until I get to the top, so it's okay. WRC manufacturers with the most wins per season.
All right.
In a single season.
Okay.
This is all time. How many could you get?
Okay.
So let's just go through. Datsun. Not a very good showing.
I can tell.
That
2 wins in 1 season.
the fact that they are on the list though,
I'm a little scared.
because there's only 12 manufacturers on this list, which sounds like a lot, but it's not.
No,
The fact that 2 wins is enough to make the list
is impressive.
says a lot for the actual competitiveness of rally. Because
Between the brands that are, the brands.
right, because that would lead me to believe that there are, some seasons where like it doesn't, like, you don't know who's gonna win. There's just
Yeah.
there's a car that
You start the season, they win the first 3 races, and you go, well,
yeah, right. So we got Datsun with 2.
Opel. Tied for Opel. Okay.
Yeah, tied for 2. Mazda
Let's go Mazda.
getting a good showing in here.
Fiat with 5.
They bump it up to 5.
Okay.
So yeah, matched by Hyundai recently.
That's
in
impressive.
their new car, which I think is pretty nasty if you ever get to watch it.
If you haven't heard our episode where we talk about the Hyundais, you should. We are very passionate about these new cars. They are
I like
fantastic
I like
cars.
those N cars a lot. Alpine, which is
That's terrifying that we're back into such old stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
6 wins there.
Audi is at 7 wins.
7 wins.
Oh, man, the car they have pictured.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
it was a great car.
The S5 Quattro.
It's pretty cool.
Subaru.
Yep.
Okay. Hey, we beat Audi. We beat the Quattro. That's all that matters.
Technically,
Symmetrical all-wheel drive.
I think they're tied technically because they're both at 7. But
You see, the way the list works is Subaru's winning.
Subaru's winning because they're ahead in the list. Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. Mitsubishi,
Oh, that's just gross.
all tied up with.
Oh, wait, that
Audi.
means All right.
So the 3 cars now that a large portion of their marketing was surrounded by rally.
Yeah. The Evos,
Obviously.
the WRXs, the STIs.
They had some time where they were pretty dominant in those seasons.
Yep.
But
Peugeot with 8 wins.
Yep.
Okay.
Ford,
I can respect that. Ford,
Built
rest in
some-
peace, Ken Block had great drivers.
built some pretty nasty cars.
Yep.
My boys over at Toyota.
Get out of here. Lancia,
Yep.
is that the top of the list? Are we there?
That is not the top of the list.
Interesting. I was gonna say because Lancia kind of deserves it. Their rally cars of the '80s, the Group B stuff was
Quite nasty.
that was some of the shit. Citroen, okay,
Yep.
11 wins.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep. Talk about dominance.
That's we always say Subaru, your Mitsubishis, your Toyotas. Apparently not.
So this is kind of at, Jeremy Clarkson and the crew. There were so many cars you could have used instead of the Audi.
And you used the Audi.
You used the Audi.
Okay.
Volkswagen.
Yep. All right.
That's the top of the list. Yep.
See, now I'm mad.
See? How about that?
And of all cars, because, I mean, let's be honest, Volkswagen does not... See, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm. That's not all-time championships, obviously.
No.
That's
just
not consistency.
Most wins in a season, so obviously biased in this specific category. But
yeah, Volkswagen
that's very interesting.
Mm-hmm. So there's my little tidbit for the rally fans out there. If you want to talk about your Evos and, sorry, but the Subarus, you're getting beat by punch buggies. So. Oh,
man, you had to go there. You couldn't have said a VR6, a GTI. Come on.
Sorry, guys. Had to do it. McLaren's come out with some pretty cool stuff I think you'll appreciate, though, because it's almost a boxer.
Oh, almost a boxer is my cup of tea. Let's go.
Almost a boxer. Ferrari has something like this as well. But
okay, well.
It is...
Less intrigued.
Yeah. Eat it, Ferrari. 120 degree V6.
A 120.
120.
Okay. So I've heard of the 90 and the 160, but 120.
They want...
Or not, yeah.
They want a low center of gravity, but retain the narrow width.
Interesting.
And it's a hybrid.
Very interesting.
But that's not as cool as the fact that the opposing pistons in this engine share a crank journal.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How do they manage that? Like, what is the reasoning for that? Do they say?
Perfectly even firing order.
That's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to basically create more of the boxer effect of it being the balanced engine.
Yes.
While retaining some width. Or not having as much width to the
There's
engine
no penalty on width.
That's very, very intriguing.
Yeah, and it's a hot V turbo.
Well, yeah.
This thing rips.
Immediate spoolage of the turbos, and it's hybrid. Which, I mean, like I've said before, I'm not necessarily full electric stuff, but I'm definitely a hybrid fan because, I mean, like I said, best of both worlds.
Yeah, this is the classic. They use it to supplement when there isn't enough boost, so it just adds to the acceleration. That's all we're looking for here.
Speed.
We like speed, so this is Ferrari's version of it. Road and Track getting some time here. Yep. That's their version of it. Same sort of thing.
Yeah, less cool.
Yeah,
it's really not though. Not the. It's actually it is a fantastic engine. I really do appreciate it. The 269 GTB.
I have been saying for a while that this needs to be the standard for the 6-cylinder in the industry because not only does it share the properties of the boxer and that it's balanced, like you said, but that small package, like it's so much smaller that it completely changes what you can do as far as car design
and center of gravities. There's so much to it.
Let's see if Ryan Turk wants to put one of these in an FRS.
Oh, I'd be into that. Hey, it's a quote unquote boxer.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. What do I got here?
Some Koenigsegg news. The Swedes.
Yes. There it is. The Jesko. This thing, it just revs like crazy. That's all I have to say about it. It's
okay.
31,700 RPM per second. So acceleration.
Wow.
Is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
He's just a madman. You need to just see what he does because it's ridiculous. Like I said,
Christian von Koenigsegg. Okay.
He's very passionate about how the perfect car is achieved.
I would say there's a big battle between him and was it Bugatti that it was the perfect car battle for a long time. It was like the fastest car.
Yep, fastest road legal car. And they were just battling it out. And I think eventually one of them just said, you know what, I'm done trying to break the speed record. We're trying to make the best car that we can. And I think they both kind of gone that direction.
Yeah.
So.
I think it was Bugatti with the, what was it, Chiron SS Coupe, I believe it is.
Yeah, something ridiculous. W16?
Yeah, it's a W16 turbos. I don't know how many. It's got turbos.
A lot.
Man, it's a really, really cool car. And I will give it to him. And it broke, it was a couple years ago now it did it, but the fastest production car record. And then after they broke, was it 300 mile an hour maybe it was? They just dropped the hat immediately when they made the announcement. They're like, yeah, and we're done.
Yeah.
So,
hey, that's cool.
I mean, you broke, first number of mile an hour starts with a 3, you win.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that.
All set. Is there anything that you haven't done to your car that you'd like to? Maybe some wheel packages or tire packages that you haven't explored yet?
I actually very much so want to put, oh boy, putting on the spot, I can't remember the brand, but definitely want to do wheels and tires. My car currently has its factory wheels and tires on it, just with some spacers.
Where would you?
I think 20 mil spacers.
Where would you be going for such an item?
A great place to look, even if this isn't where you're going to buy your wheels from, are Fitment Industries.
Oh, that's not the one.
No, that's Rally Sport Direct. That's Parent.
That's not that either. That's
there you
that
go.
One. Hey,
Fitment
sorry
Industries.
about that. Okay, here we are.
With this gorgeous Lexus on the 3 spokes. Big fan.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Big fan of that.
We already raved over that before the episode started, so
size, brand. Start your
So,
build, buy your car.
This, at least to the eye, I'm not going to say for sure it's the case, but it kind of looks like it has the same part finding layout as like your car ID type of website.
Yeah, but the results I think are usually better than typical car ID.
Some other stuff along those lines.
Okay.
But so if you don't know about Fitment Industries, it's a great website where you can go on and maybe you can look at some different, you think, oh, maybe I want to go buy this '09 Impreza, like in my case. And you want to do some wheels and tires are a lot of the time the first thing people do. Now that one's an '09 STI. That was a wide body, but
gotcha.
It's a great place to go look. It's something that you can just look at different wheel combos for your car, and usually if anybody else has purchased any wheels, which these ones are actually very familiar. Have you uploaded your car to this yet?
What's that?
Have you uploaded your car onto here yet?
No, I haven't, but they have.
You should.
They liked something of mine on YouTube, so I think I'll at them with that.
So you can, if anybody's installed some wheels that you think you like, you can go through and look at some different manufacturers, some different cars and stuff, setups that people have done. But it's just a great tool, just for your information. Anybody that's looking for some wheel and tire stuff.
And if you're going to modify, I didn't bring this up earlier. I think it's willitfit.com is a tire and wheel size calculator. So you find out the original size of your tires and put them in. And if you can find out the wheels, which usually you can find out the stock size wheels, you can put that in as well. And then put in what you think you would like to put on it. And it'll tell you if within a certain degree of certainty, like, is it going to rub or is it going to be interfering with your fender or something? Like, you can figure out offsets that way. And
I think actually even on here too, they have something where it says like, will these fit my car? And it'll say, there you go, the fitment preferences. Stock, no modification, no rubbing, scrubbing. And then they have different variations.
Which is an awesome feature.
It's fantastic. But there was a couple other things too. So when you're looking at buying a car, see if there's anybody in community, anybody that might have some parts, might have some tips, might have some anything to do with the car you're looking at.
Right.
Do your homework. Don't buy the first car you look at necessarily, unless first car you find is perfect, which could be, might not be. I was hoping mine was. It was not.
Mine certainly wasn't either.
No. And one of the big things which I actually wanted to bring up earlier is make sure you're willing to deal with the imperfections that the vehicle has when you buy it.
Yep.
My car had some leaking stuff. I had to put a power steering pump in it. It wasn't perfect. But it was something that now is all taken care of, and I got a great car because of it. And I was willing to put in a little sweat equity to get it. So
yeah, well, it's worth it. And hey, there's one of yours right there, right?
Yep. That's another wide one.
But similar idea.
Yeah.
Rally Sport Direct. I was refuting their ralliness, but there is literally a rallysportdirect.com for Subaru builds. So
yeah,
obviously other people don't feel the same way I do, which is totally fine. They got a lot of cool stuff on here.
They do. And I mean, it's a very good intro rally cars. A lot of people use them to get into rally.
Yeah,
and
makes
then,
sense.
Then they can step up to
something. It's like the
else.
350Z and drifting. Like,
yeah, it's just a good starter car. 240s, all that jazz.
Totally. And actually, I gotta give credit to this one.
Yes.
That this was a Grid Life, right?
Yes, this was Grid Life. Oh boy, this might have been COVID year. Grid Life was when this picture was taken. 2020, I believe.
Sounds right to me.
Do you remember seeing that car in person?
I don't, but it looks super hazy, and the spot that we're camping in looks like COVID
similar.
year.
Yeah.
That was still fun though. I mean, I enjoyed it.
It was a completely different vibe when we went that year.
Yeah, 100%.
In a good way though. I did really appreciate that.
Yeah, it was nice. We got to see some cool stuff and do some cool things.
Hang out with some cool people. Yeah, it was that year. We actually, you can't really see it there, but if you were to go just on the other side of my buddy's black truck in the background there, was Car and Driver. We were camping directly next to them, and they had a Scat Pack Charger, I believe it was.
Yep, and a new Supra.
And a brand new Supra. And this is when they had just come out, too, so we were like, oh my god, we get to camp directly behind it.
Yeah, they were super cool guys, too. Just, loved cars, and same thing. They loved to modify, and it was just a lot of fun.
If you don't know about Grid Life, it's an event that I like to have, everybody should go to at least once if you're any sort of a car guy. It's such a great time.
Yeah, it definitely is. But I think we've covered just about everything.
Yeah.
As far as getting your own project car, which, some are crazier than others, but
don't settle.
Yeah, don't settle, but also don't bite off way more than you can chew and leave something half baked.
Yeah. Which I have done many times. I have. And it's something that I'm working on fixing.
Yours are unfinished, though. You still have some of these projects. They just need a little more love than they did before.
Yeah. Which actually, probably should have talked about this when we first started. So the big thing with my car that I also did too is this was my first import car.
Yep.
Buying my WRX.
That's right.
I grew up with muscle cars. I grew up with V8 pickup trucks.
Yep.
That's just
Domestics
what I always
all
had.
the way.
Yep. So it was very interesting and a very new experience for me doing that too, which is why I reached out to a lot of friends to make sure that, I was not only buying something that I wasn't going to leave half-baked because I was sick of doing that to myself.
Yeah, totally.
I bought this car to drive, and I do. And I love the damn thing.
I totally get it. Well, that was the Modcast.
I think that was the Modcast. My name's Gabe Anderson.
I'm Jake Overall.
Have a good night, everybody.